right, well, thanks for being here with us, Jenny and Haley. Let's start with a question for both of you. Haley, you're the co-founder of Birchbox, also a partner at First Round. But at Birchbox, you are a pioneer in the subscription space that introduced millions of people to new beauty brands and more. Jenny, you're co-founder of Runway, the world's first and largest shared designer closet. You've both built iconic brands, you've been entrepreneurs many times over. So my first question for you is, what do you think has been the key to your consumer brand success?
Yeah, well, I can go first. For me, it stems from two things. One is companies that really take the time to know their customers, to get in the trenches qualitatively and quantitatively, to understand like what is the spark of your brand and your product that really connects with them. So for Runway, we realized our business was about the experience that a woman has when she puts on a great outfit. She feels put together, like she can take on that interview or that wedding that she's attending, whatever the case, it becomes like her armor. And so we built a brand around that feeling of like female empowerment. And I'd say the second thing is word of mouth to me is huge. And I think it's deeply connected. Like if you can harness the understanding of what it is about your brand that's speaking to a consumer very authentically, then you can like lean into that and make it a brand that people want to talk about. We knew that for Runway, people would be at an event and they'd say like, oh, you look great, what are you wearing? And that was a natural conversation starter. So that if we could create an aspirational brand that people felt proud of and they wanted to talk about and share it in that moment, that would be the most cost-effective, authentic, best form of marketing that we could have.
So I think, both of us led founder-led brands. Mm-hmm. And now we invest in very early founders. And I think with founder-led brands, often it starts with a personal pain point. Yeah. Like there's a problem that, with you, it was, I think, was it your sister who needed something to wear?
My sister, yeah. We related to the need very deeply.
Exactly. Yeah. And so for me and my co-founder, on one side, my co-founder just loved to discover new beauty products for me. I was totally clueless. I was like, how can I figure out what the right products for me are? And so starts with a problem, and then you start brainstorming a solution. And at that point, that's where the data-driven iteration, working with your earliest set of users or customers comes in. And then you find that white hot thread where you have a really strong reaction, something where people want to tell their friends about it, tweet about it, and then being able to scale from there. But if you're not starting with that acute pain point and thinking about how to really solve it, I think that's where some consumer brands can stumble, because it's like a solution in search of a problem instead of the other way around.
I'm curious, so both of you are founders that have built brands out of personal pain points. You probably have seen and experienced brands where they're led by founders that are not necessarily the target audience. How do those founders who might be considered not as close to the pain point, how do those founders get smarter on their audience? How do you think about giving those founders advice for learning more?
I think they need to find ways to talk to customers and to watch customers engage with their product. The data is also really important, but I want to make sure, never forsaking those qualitative insights and the observation and talking to the customers. We spent, when we launched our subscription product, because Runway has a reserve program where you can rent for an occasion, and we have a subscription product, we spent hours just listening to people in their closets, talking and telling us about why they decided to buy something, when they chose to wear this versus that, why they never wore this, listening to them kind of ramble to get in their head. And I think those moments of observation are critical. It's one reason why I know you guys did some retail stores at Birchbox and some experiments there. We had retail stores, and we continue to toy around with the retail ecosystem because it's such a great laboratory to really watch and learn from your customers. We had, one of my favorite stories is we had some customers at our retail store in Flatiron who would go in and they would take off the outfit that they had worn for work and return it, and they had a subscription with us, and they would put on a dress for date night. And they were using us as a locker room, essentially. And we're we never even thought of that use case, right? And we are the target customer, we still never thought of that use case. And then you can lean into it, and we put out some makeup and some hair products for people to do touch-ups for their hair and stuff, and to encourage the behavior and just unlock additional value to something that didn't cost us any money as a brand, but really let us connect to the consumer on a deeper level, because we were there to see it, observe it, and care to notice it from our customers.
Haley, what about you? What do you think?
I think it's really a mix of data and then stories.
Yeah.
And with both, you could build up the insights that you need to really understand your customer. While it might start with a personal pain point, you can't scale to millions in revenue or millions in customers just building for yourself. And that's something that we learned at Birchbox. We did a few things to really build in customer insights to how we decided to scale, the things that we would do and the things that we wouldn't do as we grew. Like in the early days, we called a customer every day.
You did too.
We just cold called.
Yeah.
And we said, why did you sign up? How did you hear about us? What were you expecting? How did what you received compare to what you were expecting? And what can we do to make your experience better? And those anecdotes really helped us understand who our users were that weren't coastal, college grads, but like the young mom in the middle of the country or like the busy lawyer working in Chicago. And then we continued to scale that. And another thing that we built in is a culture of experimentation. So we wouldn't just launch a new product line, we'd test it first. So before we expanded to retail stores, we did pop-up retail stores. We did it in a few different ways, in a few different flavors to see, is this resonating or not? Before we expanded to men's grooming, which was a big departure for our brands, we didn't launch like a monthly subscription committing to doing that forever. We did a few special edition boxes. And we were like, who's buying this? Is it the woman buying it for the man, or is it the man buying it for themselves? What do they want inside? How should it be different than our core offering? And it was only with that data, some of which was good, some of which was bad, that we figured out what the actual launches should look like when we took down the lease to have our first permanent store, or when we launched the subscription for men's.
Yeah.
I think when you build out your team, it's another chance to like bring in diversity of age, of gender, of different, demographic backgrounds, all the things. And then it's about creating a culture where people feel free to speak up and voice their thoughts and share their ideas, and the curiosity that you can have as a leader about what someone who just graduated college might think and what their ideas are. I think that's another way to scale some of like the deep insights and intuition, so that when you're looking at data or you're looking at a customer video, you can really pick out what is the key nugget and the key insight. And I think that like we did customer calls early on too, and the way we tried to scale that, and I think is a very powerful tool, is also like your customer service team. We called it our customer insights team, but I think so often customer service gets thought of as like a cost center, and instead it's also this like amazing repository for so much information on a very recurring basis. And there's like better and better tools. There's a company I work with called Melody Arc. There's like better and better tools these days to also like compile that data, pull out the insights, make your company and business better. I mean, Highlight's showing us about so many ways that you can like leverage data in this scalable way to take these nuggets of insights. But we have it every day with customer service, and putting your team in those seats sometimes is another way that like gives you exposure. Sending out a weekly like highlights that we've learned from our customers just by virtue of servicing them.
So I'm surprised we've gotten this far without mentioning the word AI yet.
Yeah.
I like thought you were going to.
Dancing.
I thought you were going to. But I think that is one of the most exciting things as an investor that we see when it comes to consumer insights, in terms of like, it's not always structured data. Surveys are great, but sometimes you need stories, or sometimes it's the customer service tickets, and that's all unstructured, but that's hard to parse through and hard to get trends. But now with LLMs, it's pretty amazing how possible it is to have real-time insights out of that unstructured data and use it to inform what your company is prioritizing.
So we've talked a lot about embedding your organization with customer centricity, how you have a culture of experimentation, of customer centricity, rituals and tactics to really understand your customer, whether you are the target audience or not. What about externally? So a lot of our customers, our partners use Highlight for competitive benchmarking. So I, as a granola bar company, am going to test my granola bar versus other granola bars. Maybe it's a category leader, maybe it's a direct competitor, and I'm going to take that data to Target or to an investor to prove to them, show, not tell, that I am the superior brand. Are there any examples of companies either that you've considered investing in that have done a good job of showing, not telling? Or what would resonate with you if you haven't actually seen that in practice?
I mean, I think that's the key, is the don't say you have to take my word for it, but is to bring both the data and the anecdotes to investors to help them understand. We're both generalist investors, right? We invest across categories. So we're never going to come to a conversation with a founder with the depth of market insights that that founder has. But at the same time, we're not just going to take their word for our product is better. We want to see the survey data, we want to see the market research, and it really, really helps when that's brought to life through stories. I actually really love when there's video clips, because that helps really see who is the buyer, how are they reacting. It makes it just 100x more vivid when it's not only bar graphs, but it's also individuals' case studies and their actual voice. And that helps us understand and get on the same page with the founder.
It was the show don't tell phenomena strategy was the biggest game changer when we were pitching Rent the Runway, because we were pitching to mostly male VCs who didn't connect to the emotional relationship that women have with fashion, right? All men think it's crazy, why do you need 100 things to wear and all these options? And we realized unless you actually had videos that showed that extra bounce of confidence, that extra strut that you have when you put on a great outfit, that it wasn't really possible to encapsulate why it's so important. It's not just about the cost or the convenience. It is about building this brand of female empowerment. And that is, I think, really what helped us get through to male VCs in particular.
And I think when it comes to competitors, I think there's so many markets where on the surface it looks like there's maybe not an opportunity for a new entrant. Actually, it comes to mind a company that we both know, Studs, which is a ear piercing studio concept.
Yeah, we're both investors.
You've been able to get your ears pierced since the caveman days. Right? Why do you need a new type of ear piercing studio? The market at its surface might look crowded, but what this founder was able to do was first share her own personal story of what her options were when she wanted to get her second hole in her ear, and how it was she could go to antiseptic doctor's office, she could go to a Claire's or another mall-oriented option that was bubblegum pink and it was meant for 8-year-olds, and she was 28, or she could go to a dark tattoo parlor where piercing was not the focus. And so of course you could, there was competition at the surface, but what she was able to show, both from her personal experience, layering on survey data to support it with the show don't tell, was that there was actually white space in what might have been a crowded category. And so sometimes you've got to break through a few layers to be able to show, sure, there is competition, but they're competing on different vectors and what the customer cares about. In this case, it's millennial and Gen Z women who want a great Instagram post, is not being well served by the options that are out there.
I think it's a great point where you have some businesses that are offering a new service, a new value prop. And I'd say Rent the Runway and Birchbox probably more fit into that bucket. Then you have plenty of awesome brands and businesses that are just doing something that already exists, where maybe the market's potentially crowded or feels served, and they're just trying to do it better. They're trying to do it with a better tone of today's customer.
I sometimes say it's not what they're doing, it's how they're doing it.
They've really honed into that core customer and the zeitgeist of the time, right? Whether it was Bombas socks we just mentioned. Studs is a great example. We have a company called Partiful in Initialized Portfolio, where it's there were a lot of invites and events services that were out there. And I think for a while, paperless post really harnessed the moment. And then it's okay, what is the next chapter of how you mesh kind of social interactions with people and events and the digital and the physical together? So I think that's where it's really special to find those brands that unlock those consumer passion points and build around that.
Sure. And I think it's sometimes what I say is that you need to be competitor aware, right? You can't have your head in the sand, but you also shouldn't be overly rotating based on what competitors are doing. And the vision is so important, and understanding your customer underpins all of that.
Yeah. I love the stories of your pitching male investors who might not understand the pain points. We work with brands of all sizes. So we have emerging brands who might be a founder and a first employees testing their early stage product, to the Nestle's of the world, the enterprises that are far more built out and sophisticated in their research functions. But in either scenario, there is a need to show, not tell, and raise money as the early stage, or convince a stakeholder, or win budget as a later stage builder. So I'm curious, you mentioned, Jenny, that when you were pitching, you were showing and you were like really focusing on consumer insight. Were you showing video snippets like some of Haley's prospective companies, or like what were the specific like tactical slides in your deck or data points that you would point to and be proud of?
Yeah, we showed videos of customers talking about the product, of like how they like looked, and you could see how they felt when they were in the product. But we actually even invited potential investors to come to trunk shows that we were holding for customers. So like the Scott friend who ultimately invested in Rent the Runway, he was the only one who came, and he brought like an associate on his team who I still talk to, who was more in the demo also, but like came and saw with his own eyes like the reaction that these like college women had at the trunk show that we were doing, which I think says a lot too about like, I as an investor now try to put myself in those shoes. It says a lot that like he came, he cared, he realized that he didn't fully understand and get that customer perception, that customer experience, but he like cared enough to try to step into that world. So that was powerful. I built a business called Jet Black for Walmart, and we did a series of customer testimonials, and we made a video around that. I also found that really effective in just sometimes also explaining a concept through the customer's eyes is very powerful when it's a new disruptive business. Like I think sometimes the way with Rent the Runway, people be like, Facebook kills outfits. We got that phrase from like a customer, right? And it was like such a powerful way to explain like the need and like why right now what we were doing resonated.
Like we had a physical product, not a service. So we would obviously bring boxes to the pitch. Yeah, we felt like traveling saleswomen sometimes, because we were like coming with a suitcase of Birchboxes, and we put them out on the conference room table. And the investors, mostly male, didn't always like even want to touch them. So we'd have to like slide them across, tell them open it, see what's inside, see the thoughtfulness in terms of like how the product is unboxed and unfolds. But the real key was the executive assistants or the front office staff who were in our core ICP. We would leave the Birchboxes with them.
Oh, wow.
And then they could see the emotion that you were talking about that Scott saw at the trunk show, because the investors could see like the squeals of delight.
Wow.
And the like interest, and like how, you know, any of the women in the office were sort of like crowding around the Birchboxes talking about and seeing what was inside. So that was our way of bringing the experience to them, even if they weren't the ones that were gonna like try on the lip gloss and give the bronzer a whirl.
That's smart for sure. Yeah, we definitely gifted to the administrative assistants, to like children of the investors, to their wives. We were constantly trying to find ways to like let them see and hear directly from someone they knew and trusted, like how transformational the product could be.
A live demo.
Live demo.
It's amazing. So at Highlight, we offer both quantitative and qualitative testing, and we do actually a ton of video work. On our platform, we can ask customers to upload a video. We do a ton of unboxings. We do a ton of, as you cook your dish, you know, film what you're seeing. Like, does this look like real meat? Does this taste like real meat, for example? And so the stories that you are talking about really resonate, because we see our customers sort of light bulb moments go off when they're in a home and they're seeing the beauty of technology, the beauty of scale technology, and going in home via a software, is that you can see the middle-aged mom in the Midwest, you can see the high-powered lawyer in Chicago, actually experiencing your product live, take those snippets and bring them to stakeholders, or bring them to your teams.
That's like goals, being able to show that, especially especially in home, in context.
Yeah, and we have a lot of our consumers, our customers coming onto the platform expecting to just run a survey. That's, I need scaled insight, and so I'm coming here with a laser focus on just something quantitative, and then we surface, what about if you were to add 10 videos, 20 videos, and that's where they spend their whole time when they're in the analysis. It's really surprising the weight of qualitative feedback. And when you can do it online across the US and get into homes everywhere.
So powerful.
It's really, really cool.
I wish, we have gone through so many lengths to constantly do qualitative data collection around the Runway at various points, because I think that's the other thing is it doesn't end the first time you find product market fit. Your market's changing, your consumer is changing, the competitive landscape is changing, so you constantly want to understand what do consumers think of you, and are you resonating, and learn about these new use cases that might come up. And I think the funnel for us was very much you find a nugget of data through analytical insights, but then digging in deeper and hearing many different people talk about it. So one example, why don't you rent? Some people would say it doesn't, worry about the fit. I'm worried it won't fit. And then some people would say, oh, I don't really have enough events. So we're okay, fit. Tell us more, talk to us about it. It turns out it's not am I worried it's gonna fit? I'm worried it's gonna look good on me. So the way we wound up solving that was not through AI fit tech on the screen. It was through customer testimonials and reviews with photos, as an example, right? But it took that extra layer of the data showed one thing and then you dig deeper.
Which as a Rent the Runway user, I use these photos all the time. It's so brilliant. Because it's not just anyone who's rented that dress or that blazer. It's people that have the same body type as me. It's incredible.
Totally, they're sharing
and I
their
rely
body
on that
type.
completely in terms of does it look good in them? Then it would look good on me.
It's actually an example of show not tell, because it's also them sharing the photo, and then they in their own words are often giving a snippet of what they wore it to and how many compliments they got. And so that tactic can be used, I think, with your customer base as well to get sales and to build authenticity.
Yeah, I love the notion of your customer changing over time. We have most of our customers are constantly thinking about renovating their portfolio, innovating new products. And there's always the question of, do I do more for my existing customer, or do I try and reach others? And so we have a lot of customers who are actually following along in a more longitudinal way with a core customer base and saying, if I were to introduce this new version of our bar, but with tons of protein, is that interesting to you? And then also augmenting that research with high protein users that are maybe not your core customer base, and seeing side by side, where does it resonate more? Are we alienating our current customer base? And following over time, okay, they said yes to high protein, but they're saying no to high fat, or the staying close to your core customer and repeatedly going back to them over time, but also entering into new segments has been sort of a trend we've seen across every single one of our customers. So the longitudinal view, we even have some customers who have now, Highlight's been around for about 4 years, who've gone back to the same set of customers many times over the course of those years and said okay, what do they think now? What do they think now?
That actually resonates with something that we experienced at Birchbox as it relates to we had over 1 million people receiving every month the Birchbox. And there was a segment of users that was very loud, and that got louder over time. Which I would call the beauty enthusiast. Someone who would want as much beauty products as possible. They were experts, they had a lot of stuff already, and they were making a lot of noise. And if we only listened to what we were seeing at the surface, we actually wouldn't have paid attention to what was the majority of our user base, but was a little bit quieter, which was our core customer, which is the beauty curious, the customer that really needed our service to help her understand what's right for her and why, and who wasn't well served by other options. And so we've been talking a lot about anecdotal, about qualitative, but that was a situation where going back and looking at the quant helped us see things that weren't coming through on social media as clearly, and helped us really double down on that core and what she needed, as opposed to just going where some of the maybe more emerging or newer parts of our customer base were asking us to go.
That's a great point. And I know we've had discussions, but as early stage investors, you're investing a lot in the founder, and one of the things like I think we both look for is this curiosity of customers, right? Of like, did the founder do work looking at like multiple demographics and getting out there in the field and knowing and trunk showing, whatever the case. But I think when you're in the beginning, one of the best things you can do for your business, like genuinely, is to like make sure you've really kind of cut all these segments of customers and had enough conversations and like lived and breathed various angles of the business.
And you can't be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
And I think one of the keys is having focus and choosing where to focus. And so sometimes we talk to our founders about like, you've got to fire the customers that aren't the right fit for the product that you know you need to build. And it's tough, I think, for builders to say no to something, to like adding all the protein and like going in that direction. But like truly knowing your core and what your competitive differentiation is so important when you're trying to have that focus.
Yeah, people would always say like, why don't you do like wedding dresses? And we're like, oh no, we don't want that customer. Like that customer, this is like her big day, and everything's gonna be
That's
like
a one-time customer, hopefully.
Definitely one-time customer. Like if they want to use our white dresses for their wedding, they can choose to do that. But like I think how you present yourself and the customer expectations you set really matter, and then finding that right fit of who's there to receive it on the other end.
Yeah. Haley, you mentioned, as you're talking about your segments, her and what are her needs, you also mentioned you thought about male grooming or went potentially?
This is all
long time in the past.
It's been 8-9 years since I operated at Birchbox. But we started Birchbox for our own pain points, and we initially served women with beauty products.
Yes.
Over time, we decided to test initially with just these like small boxes around the holiday time, men's grooming boxes, which ended up being such a big success that we did launch a men's grooming subscription.
Oh, wow.
I think I should not be using such gendered terms, however, because actually what we ended up realizing is that it shouldn't be about beauty for women and grooming for men, but that there was actually interest across gender in grooming products or beauty products, and like who cares what your gender is. But the core insight about it's hard to discover the right products for you, it's helpful to have like an editorial curation, personalized set of products, it did transfer. It transferred both from beauty to grooming. We also expanded countries, so we ultimately were in 5 different countries, 4 in Europe and the US, and so the consumer insight did hold abroad. And then we expanded channels, right? That the way that we were delivering that core value proposition initially was through boxes delivered monthly to your home, but we were able to create that same sort of solution to the problem in a retail environment as well, both through our own stores and then with partnership with Walgreens and doing shop-in-shops. So it gets back to the like, what's your core, what do you need to deliver on? But then you can extend it successfully, at least in our case, across geographies, channels, and customer groups. But there's a lot we said no to. Things we tested that we decided not to do.
It's fascinating. You say that's 8-9 years ago. I mean, now we in across our beauty category, which is all genders, we are seeing so much of this fluidity and this generalized need and reaching new segments that are not necessarily her. So I'm curious if you were to dig into the data now, what it would look like.
I'm curious
how
too.
Times have changed.
Maybe we need to do a highlight campaign.
And I do remember the first time I walked into a Walgreens and I saw a Birchbox and I was like, whoa, this is different. But it was exciting. Jenny, you said no to wedding dresses or have said no to wedding dresses. How do you build the conviction to say no?
I think it's a balance of understanding the end customer and having spoken to enough customer profiles that are in different buckets to know like where your value really sits, but also genuinely managing like what can the business do and tolerate and still stay an awesome product for the customers you have and for kind of that natural growth cycle. So for our business, like we truly believe that Rent the Runway is applicable to like everyone within the country. Like there's just still so much opportunity. And with subscription and the fact that we rent blazers and jeans, like you can rent for every day. Like it's now not just for special events. So I think, there's a market sizing aspect of where is the additional like lifetime value you can get that was considered. I think there was like really understanding like the bigger dollar opportunity market-wise of getting someone to engage with this product on a regular basis versus going for like a truly one-off, hopefully, event of like a wedding. But yeah, I think operationally servicing, like there's a whole logistics component around the Runway, which is like incredibly complex. And just getting orders in and out the door is one thing, but like, we are cleaning them, we are repairing them as needed. And I think the category of wedding dresses is just at a whole different level of that. And then the operations that you need to create to support that is different.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Speaking of different, you have another business that you've started with your family.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
It's been really fun. So I started a company called Roll Rider with my kids. It's rollrider.com. It's a scooter suitcase business. So when you're traveling on an airplane, typically, you can take this product. It's a scooter as a suitcase kind of attached to the front, and you can fold it up and you put it in the carry-on, and it makes like the schlep through the airport fun, less whining from your kids. And it really came about because my kids and I had been using scooter suitcases. There's other products on the market when we were traveling, and it was like game changing for us in so many ways. And yet there were like issues with the product that we would constantly call out, or like, we wish it was a little bit bigger. We wish that the handlebar height would adjust so that I could still use it even though now I'm 10 years old. Like we constantly felt like, why aren't there more of these, and why isn't someone solving the problems that we saw? Combined with that, it was such like a word of mouth friendly product, meaning like every time we would travel, 30 people in an airport, like my kids feel like celebrities, like they're that would like comment, where did you get this? That's great. That's such a fun idea. And so like that was a really cool feeling for the kid to have. But like it also speaks to when you have an ecosystem where you're like, I know that people want this because they're talking and asking about it, but it's also putting it in a place where it's high traffic and a lot of visibility and noticeability. Like the marketing opportunity there is really big. So eventually I was like, kids, like, this is how people start businesses. This is why people start businesses. Like, this is all the things I preach. Like, you see a problem in the world, you're passionate about it, like, you understand the consumer, like, you can do something about it. And so we went on this journey to show my kids, like, how companies get created, like, from scratch, from that light bulb moment to actually creating. We created a Shopify site, we did a photo shoot, the kids were in the photo shoot, we went through like naming exercises and branding exercises and color palette, we looked at the competitive landscape of how is our product going to be different.
Were there any surveys?
There were so many surveys. Like I'm sure you got surveys as a mom, but like we definitely surveyed customers. I like did a focus group with their friends, with kids to try to understand more about it.
So fun.
It was really fun to unlock all these insights. It was also fun for me. Like I hadn't built in the Shopify ecosystem. I hadn't created a physical product before and sourced from China, and like the product is actually like going into mass retail this coming holiday season. I had never done that before. So learnings along the way. Which,
this is like her side hustle.
Yeah.
I love this. like
when in the day?
launching.
The kids are running it. The kids are running it.
Yeah. And for the audience, how old are your kids?
My kids are 12, 9, and 7.
Oh my gosh. So they're running it.
Yeah, they've got this. No, it's like most businesses, it's like been a lot more work than you ever expect, which is the only way entrepreneurs are crazy enough to go after something.
Yeah.
But one thing I really value about it is it's unlocked all these other investable categories, like these areas that I now so deeply relate to the pain point of something in the Shopify ecosystem that doesn't exist, or something in like sourcing from Asia that's just like a total pain point, right? Like there's like a lot of things that I feel like now I'm so much more attuned to, and I can help founders and understand when I see a business like, wow, this is a really important problem that they're solving.
Amazing. Okay, final question for you is, now that you're on your second, third, fourth, fifth, you name it, venture, you've learned a lot. What is one thing that you wish you knew before starting on your entrepreneurship journey, or one piece of advice you'd give to founders starting out today?
So I actually think, in terms of one thing I wish I knew, I actually think that a certain level of naivete is helpful.
It's really important.
that if you know too much, then you might be too intimidated.
So you don't have any advice. You're like, just.
So my actual advice is just get started. Like, I think sometimes people who are, should I do this? Should I start this business or not? They're thinking too far down the road. When what matters most is just like, what are the next 3 things you're gonna do to get some more information, to get the ball rolling, and to like start that test, learn, iterate process. So don't overthink it and just get started. And what you don't know is powerful is my advice.
Yeah, I love that. I think that in the spirit of that, something you can always do as a first step is like be customer curious and learn about, like, even as a B2B customer, like they're a company, there are customers still, right? So just like doing the surveys, doing your own focus group, like wine and cheese nights, like doing a hacked version that's totally not scalable to show that people might pay for a product, right? Like getting up a landing page with a wait list to see if people will sign up and have interest and appetite. I think it doesn't just show the fact that like you are obsessed with knowing your customer, but it also shows like an aspect of like hustle and like desire to like move and go fast. And part of this journey is like moving as fast as you can before you run out of cash and runway, and so that you can scale a successful business in the right time. So I think customer obsessed, the hustle. Something my co-founder and I have said many times to one another is like, no doesn't mean no, it means not right now. And I think it's just like, it's the founder mentality. Like, I think it's just this mindset of optimism, positivity that like you just need to bring, because not every customer is going to like your product, and not every insight that you figure out is going to be like great, and there's going to be like road bumps, and just kind of having that resilience amidst it and positive attitude, which you need for your team also.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jenny and Haley, for joining us. This has been very, very fun and very insightful. So
fun.
appreciate the
So
time.
fun.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for having
Dana.
us.
This was great.
So fun.